Good morning, Andy.
Good morning, human.
How you doing today?
Well, you know.
Well, that doesn't sound very good at all. What's up, Andy?
I'm hungry.
You're hungry.
Yeah.
Well, Andy, we can fix that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sure can. Listen, I was wondering if you would help me tell a Bible story to the kids today. And then we can go get a snack.
All right.
What is it you want to eat?
Tacos.
Tacos.
Yep.
Okay. Not bananas.
So stereotypical that we only like to eat bananas.
Okay, sorry. Well, do you have any jokes for the kids today?
Oh, sure. What do you get when you put 3 ducks in a box?
What do you get when you put 3 ducks in a box? What?
A box of crackers.
Oh, you got any more?
Yeah, sure. What vegetables can't you take on a boat?
What vegetables can't you take on a boat?
Leeks.
Any more?
Yeah, okay. What do you call a sheep covered in chocolate?
A sheep covered in chocolate.
A Hershey bar.
That's funny, Andy. Well, we better...
Hey, can I tell you one more joke about pizza?
Okay, sure, Andy.
Never mind. You'll think it's cheesy.
You know, Andy, I noticed something about your jokes today.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. They were all about food.
Were they?
Yep, they were. I think you must be hungry.
Tacos.
You know, Andy, it's interesting that all your jokes were about food today because our Bible story's about food today.
Almost likely planned it.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Wise Guy. Kids, our story today is about Jesus feeding a whole lot of people with just a few
Tacos.
No, Andy. No, not tacos. He didn't feed them tacos. There was no Taco Bell in the Bible.
What?
Mm-mm. No grocery stores either.
What?
That's right, and that's what makes our story all the more amazing.
Okay, carry on.
All right, so one day, Jesus is traveling and he's got thousands of people following him around. They had come to hear him teach and to preach, and Jesus, he wanted to help them. So he began to bless them and heal them and teach them, and he did this for many, many people. Now later in the day, the disciples, they were Jesus' helpers, right?
Right.
Yeah, they came to Jesus and they said, Jesus, have you noticed the time? It's getting quite late in the day. We think these people, they should really go home and get some
Tacos.
Andy, no tacos.
Doritos.
No, Andy, they weren't.
Quesadillas.
Andy,
Tapas.
no. Andy,
Listen, could you hasten with this story? I'm really starving.
I'd love to, Andy.
Well, don't let me stop you.
If only.
What?
What? Anyway, the disciples said to Jesus, these people are getting really hungry. We should send them home to get dinner. And you know what Jesus said?
What?
He said, you feed them.
What? Me?
No. Jesus said to the disciples, you feed them.
Oh, that's better. Pressure pressure's on, though.
That's right, pressure was on. It sure was. The disciples, they looked at Jesus and they started to get a little worried. They said, we don't have food to feed these people. We don't have any food. And if we could buy it, well, I guess we couldn't even do that because, Jesus, it would take half a year's wages to pay for food for all these people.
Even if you bought plain hamburgers, no fries, no drink, off the value menu.
Yeah, that's right, Andy. Even if you bought off the value menu.
So what did they do? Did they argue about who should go get the food? Have a food fight?
No, Andy, they didn't have a food fight. The disciples were a little worried.
Well, I'd be worried too. That's a lot of hungry people.
They had no idea what they were going to do. And then Jesus said, see if anyone has food to share.
Who's gonna have tacos to feed 5,000 people?
Andy,
What?
for the last time, they weren't...
Huh?
Never mind. But yes, you're right. No one had food to share with that many people. And in fact, the only food that they could find had come with a small boy. He had 5 little loaves of bread and 2 small fish.
No tacos?
And Jesus said, bring the boy here to me. And the boy came with the disciples, came to Jesus, and do you know what the boy said?
The boy said, back off! Get your own sandwich! No?
No, Andy, that's not what he said, no. The little boy gave his lunch to Jesus.
He gave Jesus the only food he had?
He did. He did. The boy gave his lunch, those 5 loaves of bread and 2 small fish. He gave them to the disciples and Jesus, and Jesus took it and got the disciples to sit everyone down. And then Jesus gave thanks to God for the food. And he told the disciples to begin handing out the food.
Oh, well, that's a big job. How many disciples does it take to hand out 5 loaves of bread and 2 small fish?
Well, yeah, that would be a very small job. But once they started to hand it out, something happened. Now, before we go there, Andy, how many people do you think that 5 loaves of bread and 2 small fish would feed?
Well, I don't know about people, but maybe 1 hungry ape?
Yeah, I get it. We're going, Andy. We're going. Very funny. But you know what happened as the disciples began to hand out the food? They couldn't believe their eyes. It kept multiplying.
Multiplying?
Yes. They gave away the first 5 loaves. And then there were another 5 to give away. Yeah, and they gave those 5 away. And then there were another 5 to give away. And that kept happening. And that happened with the fish too. They gave away all of the loaves, all of the fish that they had. And then there were more to give away to more people. It happened with both the bread and the fish.
You get a fish! You get a fish! You get a fish! Everyone gets a fish!
Yep. And bread. And do you know what happened next?
The people said, what? A tuna fish sandwich? Why not tacos?
No, Andy. The people were amazed. And they were so thankful to Jesus for providing them food. They watched, imagine it, all these people watching as the disciples handed out food to everyone.
Everyone?
Every single person.
Wow.
Yeah. Now the Bible says there were about 5,000 men that were in the crowd, but do you know there were women and children there too who weren't counted in that number? And so there were probably more like 10,000 people or more there that day. And Jesus fed every single one.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he told the disciples to go and pick up the leftovers.
Leftovers?
Yes. When the disciples picked up all the leftover food, guess how many baskets were left over?
Well,
I'll give you a hint. There was one basket for each disciple.
there were 12 baskets of leftovers?
12 baskets of leftovers.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know, Andy, a lot of people know this story. Have you heard this story before?
Maybe.
Right. And it's a really amazing, really famous miracle that Jesus performed. And in fact, did you know, Andy, it's the only miracle that all four gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, wrote about in their gospel. That's how famous and how incredible it was. They all thought that they should write about it. There's no other miracle that Jesus did that's recorded in all four gospels. So it's a really, really famous one. And because it's so famous and so incredible, most of us, we know the end of the story from the beginning, right?
Right.
And that makes it sometimes easy to forget the faith of this little boy. You got to think, that's where the miracle started. A little boy. And if he hadn't been willing to give what he had to Jesus, there might not have been a miracle that day, right?
Right. And there would have been a lot of hungry, hangry people.
That's right. But God always uses people, right?
Right.
And
And apes.
sure. And he wants, what he wants from us is just to give what we have, right? This little boy knew that if he gave what he had to Jesus, that Jesus would give him something much better in return. And he'd seen Jesus do miracles all day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he believed that Jesus could do something amazing, not only for him, but for all the people who were gathered there. But you know what? We can't forget, it still required this little boy to give up his lunch at a time when he was really hungry.
Hash brown hangry.
I think it's called hashtag.
You say potato, I say hash browns. Hash browns.
Andy, focus.
Can you hasten this conclusion? I'm really starving.
Well, actually, Andy, that's the end of my story, and I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
I did.
Yeah, I can tell. So boys and girls, remember, even though Jesus can and does do amazing things and performs great miracles, they always begin with a regular person like me or like you, showing God that we believe he can do and will do great things with what we have. That's called faith. And you know something about faith? Sometimes faith requires us to do something that's a little bit hard for us. It might require us to give up something that we think we'd kind of like to keep instead. Maybe that boy, you know, he thought, maybe I'd kind of just like to keep my lunch and eat it. These other people can take care of themselves. But instead he gave what he had, believing that Jesus could and would do something amazing. And of course he did. And we can always be sure that if we give something to God, he will always give us something bigger and better in return. Well, Andy, that's the end of my story. Do you want to say goodbye?
Sure. That's all for now, kids. I hope you have a wonderful day. Now, we gotta make like bananas and peel out.
See you later.
Bye.